kind of worried about their marksman pool though, because I believe it might be marksman being banned here for the side of Fine Dog. You know, they can ban the likes of maybe Zaya, ban out Severe as a potential. You know, Severe getting a pretty high priority pick yesterday once the other AD carries were out of the pool. As for both sides, we have that AP damage source. We have the Rise on one side. We have the Rumble on the other. So we most likely won't see Gwen this game. Might get banned away just in case the team picks it up. But probably is going to be, you know, left open as it's not going to be picked. Volibear being the ban, though, for the first one.
Yeah, again, I think definitely had a lot more appearance in the second phase of the bans. Volibear yesterday obviously did rear its head at least twice as well within both those series, especially towards the latter parts of the games as well, because obviously it starts to become a little bit harder of what you're going to be banning and what you can afford to ban. But it looks like over to the side of Vapo, they're going to be looking at aiming at some of those supports like the Rakan. Obviously, we saw quite frequently yesterday. Nautilus is obviously already been banned as well. So we're going to be looking at falling back onto the likes of potentially like going for the whether they want to exhaust that now for the side of Fine Dog in this first game, or save it for a little bit of a later game within the series and try and pair it with something like the Camille.
Yeah, exactly that. It's going to be interesting to see what the other ban is. It is going to be that Camille ban, so that's going to be banned. Interesting that they prioritize banning out the solo laners, so they probably think that this Aatrox is going in the jungle, so they're banning out some of the other solo laners, or maybe just trying to force this Aatrox to play in one of the solo lanes, and maybe they have to try and go for another jungler instead. You know, that could also be what idea that Fine Dog have behind them. They're not really worried about the AD carry picks. They'd rather focus some of these solo lane picks. Of course, Camille, as you mentioned already, you know, Hextech Ultimatum being very, very scary as a way to try and jump onto the enemy backline. Nocturne could be a possibility. It is going to be picked as well. Nocturne is still very scary with the Rumble because the problem is when the lights go out with the Nocturne ulti, you don't know where the Rumble is. You don't know where that Equalizer is going to be landing, which is going to be very, very scary for Vapo.
Very scary. And I mean, we saw yesterday, obviously, the damage that this pick can do. Like, 1 second, your champion is alive. Well, the next second, it's been burst down. And over to the side of Vapo, we're potentially getting a lock-in of a Mumu here. Oh, I may not be getting my Rammus, but we get a Mumu. Okay, okay.
Very interesting. I mean, it is the highest win rate champion right now in solo queue in the jungle, but it's more of like, I would call it what they say, quote unquote, low elo stomper. It's just a champion that is very, very tanky right now, does a lot of damage. The problem is when you're playing against higher level players, they know how to play against it. They know how to work around the Mumu and how to, you know, play against the amount of crowd control and the amount of you know, team fight potential that it has. But I'm looking right now, like the Ornn ultimate paired with the Amumu and the Yone jumping in as well. The combo on Vapo's side is very scary. The problem is they don't really have a real carry on their team. It looks like Rise is going to be picked as kind of that marksman pick, quote unquote, in the duo lane. So Rise is going to be paired down in that duo lane, and we're going to be getting Yone and Aatrox as both of the solo laners, unless this Amumu is somehow playing solo lane and we're getting something else here, but I'm not really too sure. Galio lost pick, quite a nice pick to stop the and negate some of the engage here for Vapo.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, I think the Mumu kind of makes sense as well, right? Like, if you can kind of try and shepherd around, like, the potential target here for Nocturne, you're probably going to be looking at the likes of the Rise, right? Like, that's going to be one you really want to try and burst down. Maybe the Yone as well. So if you can kind of have, like, Queenie just kind of try and shepherd them around and obviously pop the ultimate when they see the darkness come through, it could be a bit of a decent counter there to try and catch him out before he actually gets and does a lot of the damage with the darkness as well. So we could see it work. And like you said, there's a lot of crowd control onto the side of Vapo as well. They're really relying on, obviously, Lilo on the Rise to do a lot of that damage.
Exactly that. Looks like might be switching up in terms of positions here as well. Looks like Lilo might be on the Rise and then Aatrox is going to be on Tung Tung, who we saw yesterday as the marksman, but might be switching it up, might be just feeling a little bit more comfortable on that Aatrox, and Rise going in the hands of Lilo. Of course, usually a mid lane pick, but it's probably going to go into you know, the dual lane, quote unquote, with the Ornn here as well. But yeah, I agree with you with the Amumu. I think the Amumu this game is going to be playing a lot more peeling in these team fights. Isn't going to really be jumping in and engaging on the Ezreal. It's more of like, I guess, a kind of counter pick, even though it isn't really. But when Nocturne jumps in, uses his ultimate, Amumu's job is to just crowd control the Nocturne and stop the Nocturne for jumping in onto the carries. But as you mentioned, we saw yesterday, sometimes all the Nocturne Nocturne needs is the ultimate and the first ability, and the enemies just get one shot. So sometimes you might not even have enough time as an Amumu to jump in and try and stop all this damage. But here we go, game number 1 here of the 3rd place matchup. Amumu's jungle in game number 1. This is what Fearless is all about.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the shake-up we wanted, right? Like, we didn't want to kind of see the same kind of picks come through. I mean, there has been a bit of similarities already this far. We see that Faker Repo is gone down to the bot side of the map, just kind of trying to contest against the Yone as well. Aatrox is going for the matchup against the Fiora in the early game also. So, really, it's going to be kind of trying to see what they can do in the side lanes for the side of Findog. If they can try and find some kind of advantage here, that's what we've been seeing from Findog as well. They definitely really like to prioritize the side lanes, especially after the manhandling that Random gave them.
Yeah, Random had a bit of a field day yesterday, you can say, with the amount of success that he had on the side lane. With the help from his team as well, I think that really proves that, you know, sometimes it's not just a one-man band. You do need the rest of the team to, you know, help you and follow up as well. Yone taking the Ignite this time, so going to be playing a little bit more aggressive, trying to maybe go for some early kills. Great thing about Mumu, though, is that Mumu is one of the fastest jungle clears in Wild Rift right now. He has one of the fastest clear times. And interesting enough, the Mumu is actually starting on red, so he wants to actually path to the same side as this Nocturne, try and take advantage of the early power that Mumu has. And you can see already that both the dual lanes are kind of rotating towards this top side because they know that both these teams, both these players and junglers are going to be contesting towards that Skull Crab. But already the jump on in the 3-man knockup from the Ornn, and this looks like a great team fight to start things off for Vapo. Mumu's is going to get 2 kills and the Scuttle Crab to start things off, and that's so smart gameplay there from Queenie. Normally with a Mumu, you start blue buff, you go down to the red buff, but Queenie was like, okay, we have the mid lane priority with the Rise and the Ornn. Let's get that pushing power in mid, get priority over the Scuttle Crab. They meet each other, and Amumu gets a double kill. Brilliant job.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely the early game that Vapo want, right? They definitely want to get those kills on the board. Honestly, I thought it was a very vital engage for Findog. Obviously, going straight into the backline with the taunt like they've just done there once more. Invili looking pretty low. Got to be careful. But Nakamuru coming around as well. Susanoo looking pretty low, but also doing a lot of damage to Nakamuru. The Amumu comes in. Can he get the ropes? Oh, just missing it as well. That was so clutch.
You're seeing already how far behind this Nocturne is falling behind, though. Nocturne is not even level 5 yet, and Queenie's already level 5, nearly level 6 at this point of the game, and is now just walking along the enemy jungle. He knows that he's so powerful at this point. He's actually looking for the Nocturne, and he's looking to try to invade to put the Nocturne further behind. Finally, Nocturne is level 5, so can try and use his ultimate to his advantage, but you can see how weak Nocturne is when he doesn't have his ultimate. It's going to be very difficult for him to pilot in these fights when he can't jump in with darkness. But you're going to see here that they're going to try and look to maybe contest around this blue buff. It looks like Amumu's just going to be farming for now and just clearing through the whole jungle. But the blue buff is up here for Findog, and if they want to, they can try and contest it. But they're just going to like Nocturne farm up for now.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely don't want to get rid of the momentum they've already kind of accrued for themselves at this point, right? I mean, that could be a potential outcome if they do decide to go in and invade the blue, but they've decided against it. I think that's a very good call here for Vapo. Just allow Queenie just to keep having that same time just to farm up, because right now it's working, right? I mean, he's about like 800, 600 gold ahead within that lane alone. Definitely going to be the lead that he needs going forward with this one, trying to mitigate a lot of that damage that can potentially come through from the Nocturne, especially towards that mid to late game.
This Ornn pick as a support it's still, in my opinion, one of the most underrated picks in support right now. You know, the amount of crowd control that you can give to your team, and we saw just, you know, not about the combat stats and how much crowd control and team fight the Ornn offers, but also being able to give your teammates the ability to buy items outside of the bases. Oh no, here comes the darkness. The Nocturne ultimate comes on through, and he dives straight onto the backline. The flash from the Ornn is not enough. Double kill in the end for Findog. They get the comeback that they needed, but Queenie, the sad mummy, the tears coming on through. Killing spree for the Amumu in game number 1. Oh, he even wants to look for more. Look at him. He's ready. He's hungry at this point. But there you go. First ultimate coming through for Nakamura, and a kill as well, which is great. Oh, fighting the bot lane solo. Bolo for the Rumble.
Yeah, no, they're getting kills across the board here. Obviously, fine, Doug. It looked like Vapo was having, obviously, like, the dominant clear early game there, especially with, obviously, the freedom that Queenie kind of created for himself to kind of explore the enemy jungle. But if you look at the actual resources, they're not that far ahead. They're behind by, like, 1k gold, which is something that they want to keep in check here for the side of Vapo. We do have both the neutral objectives up right now. Back in yesterday, Channel Ensemble was the one to go for, but we are going to knock up here. There's only one knock onto the back line here. Invali was going to be the target, but it's going to be the on get taken down. Traded for the Galio. Fake Apo looking low. He gets taken down as well. That's a 2-2 trade overall, but both of the junglers are still standing, which is the key ones you want as these neutral objectives are up.
Yeah, neutral objectives are up. Great shield there from the Nocturne to stop the bandage toss there from the Amumu. No ultimates across the board, though. The big thing is Nocturne's ultimate is coming back soon, as well as the Rumble ultimate. They're the two big ultimates you have to look at. Queenie actually engaging in mid lane, back onto the Ezreal again. Needs to be careful as the counter engage comes on through with the Galio knock up, and there's the Nocturne jumping on through, but it's a little bit difficult to try and kill the Amumu. He does kill him in the end. Yone jumps in back onto the back line, but he jumps straight in onto the equalizer. The taunt tries to come on through as well, but it's not enough, and only the Amumu dies. But I think Fine Dog will definitely take that as they look to try and get the Rift Herald, and they could even try and take the Dragon. Both at the same time would be absolutely great.
Yeah, exactly. Getting the Rift Herald here is obviously a big plus for the side of Fine Dog. They're ahead by about 3k gold as well now, so definitely trying to create a bigger space between themselves and Vapo in terms of itemization and resources, but it's been very brawly. It's a different kind of tale of yesterday, to be honest, Stu. I mean, the Fearless Draft, it had this kind of guessing. It had these players playing a little bit coy for my liking yesterday, but this time it's been non-stop action in that mid lane and around these objectives as well.
Yeah, mid lane being the main priority for these two teams, you know, with the setup that Galio has, the setup that Ornn has as well, and you can see how important it is for both these teams to try and get their carries ahead. You know, the the Ryze and the Ezreal both being the main carries for each team. They both have the scaling with the Rod of Ages and the Archangel for the Ryze, and then the Manamune for the Ezreal. They just want to try and get as much safety as possible for these carries, but that Rift Herald being used into the mid lane, not gonna be able to take the first tower, but it's a lot of tower platings to try and get them a little bit more gold in their belt.
Yeah, a bit of gold in the belt as well. Up to the top side of the map, it is going to be Tung Tung Zohor that gets taken down as well. So T1 is gone down into the mid lane, up to the top side of the map as well. Potentially could get the takedown there. Obviously, Nakaruru, and I believe it is Fake Apo up there as well, trying to get that T1 up into the Baron lane. But definitely the kind of start that Fine Dog needed after what was happening in that early game. We obviously thought that it was going to be a Vapo stomp there, especially how it started this game, but it's definitely looking like Fine Dog has found their calling within this one.
Yeah, really strong early game from Vapo. Again, the jungle pathing from Queenie was very smart to be at the same side as the Nocturne, try and get level 5 before him. You see that as soon as this Nocturne gets level 5, it's so difficult to play around. You know, the Nocturne right now is one of the scariest junglers to play against because of the darkness, because of the ultimate, and because you don't have any vision as soon as he uses that ultimate. And then he jumps in, he does a crazy amount of burst damage. And Amumu in these fights, sometimes it's just a sitting duck. You're just there trying to land a bandage toss, trying to get some crowd control. But meanwhile, your backline's getting dove by the Nocturne, by the Fiora, and even the Rumble.
Yeah, looking to the bottom side of the map, though, it looks like 1-4-1-4 is looking pretty low there. So obviously, Yone was able to get a little bit of a decent in trade there into his advantage. But I feel like this is where the pressure is really going to start to amount here for the side of Vapo, is the fact that they've lost 2 T1s into their mid and top side of the map. They're going to make sure that they need to be away from this one, but it is going to be Queenie potentially getting caught out here. He does have to use the flash, committed as well. The Ornn comes through to try and save Queenie, but it's not going to be enough. We do see Nakaruru into the back line, but the damage from the Ryze. He goes down. It's going to be a double kill going over to Fake Apo for now, so triple kill. Can we see some more for Mr. Faker Apo as they're pushing this bot lane?
Oh my god, he might even get the penta here. He gets a quadra, does he get the penta? I don't think he did.
I think it was
might got stolen. Oh no. The pentakill gets stolen in the end, but the Rumble, Fake Repo doing a crazy job here on the Rumble. But the Galio, the support in the end, kill stealing the pentakill. Really unfortunate. Just, yeah, make sure we report the Galio at the end of the game and we're all good.
Yeah. I mean, that was just unfortunate, but it could have been the first pentakill of the showdown as well. I'm pretty sure we didn't get a pentakill in the battles. Actually, no, I think we may have. Actually, it was probably on the Zeri, I think it was. But no, that was a really good fight there. I mean, it definitely kind of looked like FineDog had that early part of the fight as well. I mean, even though 1-4-1-4 was very low, trying to get out of there as well. I mean, we're going in for some more here. Nakamura is into the mid lane, takes down Rise once more. So Lilo, that damage is not going to come through here from the side of Vapo. But I feel like Lilo's actually doing the thing that you were worried about yesterday, is the fact that it didn't have the Rod of Ages. He's built it, but it's not going to be enough here. The damage coming through from the side of FineDog is just too much for him to try and sustain. We do get a kill onto the back line there. Ezreal does go down, but they're going to trade it for another 2 members of Vapo as they try and push this mid lane.
Look at the gold lead now in the jungle. That was like a 1,000 gold lead for Amumu, and suddenly it's completely swung in Nakamura's favor. You know, 2,000 plus gold lead now, nearly 3,000 gold lead on this Nocturne in the jungle. And I was talking about in Champion Select how the Nocturne just pairs really well with the Rumble, but it's also pairing very well with the Galio at the moment. They're using this combo of the Nocturne ultimate jumping into the backline and that global ultimate from the Galio being able to follow up afterwards. So Nocturne gets the magic shield, but also Galio gets a knock up on top of it as well. And at the moment, Vapo have not found a way to deal with this Nocturne. Amumu just seems to never be near the Nocturne every single time he jumps in, and that's why this jungler is so strong. He can find advantages, he can find isolated targets on the map and use the ultimate to try and jump in and burst someone before a fight even starts.
Yeah, I mean, just back on that point there, I mean, the fact is that obviously we saw in the early game, Queenie had the lead, so he had the privilege to actually be away from basically farming. But at this point, we are going to get in the kill onto the Yone. He's been taken down off screen as well. Tung Tung Zahor goes down, so Aatrox is also down. So the CC, obviously the World Ender, the World Breaker is going to be missing now. But all that time that's been happening, Baker Apo has just been playing this bot side of the map and just creating some crucial advantage here for the side of FineDog. Vapo able to get the second dragon. They are 1 away from the Dragon Soul, but I don't think that 3% is going to be enough, Stu, to get them come back here, especially as they're behind with so much gold.
I don't think we're even going to get to the 3rd dragon at this point. I mean, look at Queenie. Oh, he flashed away from the Galio, but buddy, you're on the wrong side of the map. They're going to try and go for the steal here. Actually, Queenie, the taunt for the Galio and the knock-up as well. Queenie tried to get close enough to the Baron pit to try and use his first ability or use his flash over the wall, but unfortunately wasn't able to get close enough to the pit. Really well played there by the Galio to use both the taunt and the knock-up to stop the Amumu from getting into the pit, to stop that 50-50 chance of the Baron being stolen. And in the end, that does mean that FineDog do take that Baron and do put themselves on cruise control in this 3rd place match.
Yeah, no, it's not looking like the best kind of match that Vapo would probably be hoping for in this best of 5, especially obviously with the Fearless draft, because they are going to lose quite a few of these picks going forward as well. Neither of these teams can pick them, so the fact that they lose the Ezreal, which obviously is one of Tung Tung Sahor's probably one of the best performances had in this series and in the battles as well, it's going to be hard for them to actually try and formulate what they can do in game number 2. I suppose that the thing that Vapo really need to do is if they do get the early game lead, they can't fumble it like they did in this one.
FineDog right now trying to push the towers. Tier 2 tower goes down. They're using this Baron buff very well. You can see that the Fiora's top side, the Rumble is bot lane, and they got 3 members in the mid lane. If anyone tries to step up, Nocturne is there with the darkness to try and protect it. Inhibitor in the mid lane nearly gone down. It's probably going to go down after a few more auto attacks here, as meanwhile Fiora's also taking the top tower at the same time. A rampage for the Nocturne now in the mids. We're actually missing that fight in the mid lane. The Ornn uses the Ornn Horn to try and escape, but it looks like all 3 inhibitor towers might go down here. The Fiora is too strong to deal with in the side lane. Someone needs to try and push down this bot tower. It looks like the minions are going to push it in anyway. Top lane inhibitor down, mid lane inhibitor down, and now the bot lane inhibitor down. And this is the point of the game where you need an absolute miracle to come back, but they don't want to wait, FineDog. They want to engage. Yone completely whiffed the ultimate, and Ezreal is just on the sideline hitting mystic shot after mystic shot time and time again. Queenie is trying to do enough damage. They're actually getting a few kills. Ezreal dies to Nexus, but the Nocturne is there to auto attack it instead, and game number 1 goes in the way of FineDog. after a shaky, very, very shaky early game where that Mumu got the early double kill, they were still able to use that combo very effectively with the Nocturne and the Galio to get that big advantage they needed in this game.
Yeah, honestly, the way that Vapo obviously played that early game, we were thinking, wow, okay, this is clearly there's some kind of formulation between this strat that they've come with. Obviously, Queenie on the Mumu, like you said, Stu, did definitely play very well, but it seemed like it kind of burst out very quickly because, like, I remember looking at the timer in the match and thinking it's about 4 or 5 minutes, and now Queenie's already behind. That's an issue. And then obviously the game only lasted 14 minutes and 28 seconds. So
Yeah.
again, even more of a big an issue, right? They had such a they had a lead, but for a very small amount of time. And I think that's the issue here that Vapo had. And I mean, look at that. Tung Tung Sahur with 0-5. I mean, only building the Serpent Fang, going into the Eclipse as well. I mean, that's not going to give Aatrox enough damage to kind of contest with the Nocturne and the Ezreal at that point.
No, I mean, Aatrox in the side lane, not really working out in the end. It just seemed like their draft didn't really add up because they